Hey, what's up, everyone? Steve Zakuani here, and this is a great night, and I want to welcome you all to this evening. And the Alliance annual business meeting is one of the most important things as a club we do every single year, and it's a big part of our democracy and sport ethos, which is something that sets our club apart and makes us very different. Having this chance, once a year to work together with the Alliance Council and discuss important club issues is something that our leadership and ownership takes a great deal of pride in. The Alliance overall is what makes our club unique. From naming our team to voting the GM every 4 years, our fans are the beating heart of Sounders FC. Being accountable to our fans is something the club takes very seriously, and we thank all of you for taking part in tonight's virtual meeting. We welcome your questions. We look forward to answering them. And before we fully begin, would like to start with a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that as we convene tonight, we do so on unceded Coast Salish land, specifically the ancestral land of the Duwamish, Suquamish, Stillaguamish, and Muckleshoot tribes. We acknowledge and pay respect to the first peoples who gathered here, to elders past and present, and to all indigenous people. We thank the Coast Salish peoples, including the Puyallup tribe, for their generations of stewardship over our natural resources. Let us all work together to create inclusive partnerships to honor indigenous partnership and to convene our community to steward the land. I would like to begin by introducing all of tonight's panelists for this is the 13th annual business meeting. And allow me to begin by introducing first from the Alliance Council. We have with us tonight, Cameron Collins. He's the president of the Alliance Council. And if I butcher anyone's name, please ask for your forgiveness in advance. And Nicholas Biela, secretary, and Ben Slager at large. That's from the Alliance Council. From Sounders FC, we have with us tonight, majority owner Adrian Hanawa, owner and president of business, Peter Tomozawa, Garth Lagerway, general manager and president of soccer, and of course, Brian Schmetzer, head coach, Freddie Juarez, assistant coach. We have Maya Mendoza Ekstrom, senior vice president of legal and external affairs, and Taylor Graham, senior vice president of business operations and marketing. So with no further ado, I would like at this point to introduce the first session, which will be, we're going to welcome the Alliance Council leadership to discuss this season, their role and future projects. Cameron, Nicholas, and Ben, I hand over to you.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Cameron Collins, and I am president of the Alliance Council. Thank you, Steve, for the introduction there. First of all, I wanted to introduce to you what the Alliance is, because I think a lot of people don't know that idea. And if you are a season ticket member of the Sounders, you are an Alliance member. And that's why we have this meeting. It's for you. The Alliance Council is the fan government that actually takes your voice and presents it to the club. So if you're an Alliance member, you can become a member of the council and join us. All you need is 25 votes, and you get that from other Alliance members. So if you'd like to run for council and be involved with us and like the things you're going to hear today, or if you would like to vote for anyone on council who's running, I know Jeff Williams is so close, former council member, only needs 6 more votes. You can go to vote.soundersfc.com and do that. First off, I'd like to introduce the executive committee for this year. And of course, I'm the president, and then Carmen Hall was our vice president. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here today with us, but she is definitely my right hand and helps me with everything. We have Secretary Nick Biela, at-large member Ben Slager, and at Medium member Dwayne Nakamura. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Dwayne because we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for him. He really is the person that works for the club on getting this meeting together. So thank you so much for that, Dwayne. Right about now, I'm going to pass it off to Nick and Ben so they can tell you more about what we did this year and what's coming.
Thanks, Cameron. My name is Ben Slegger, and like Cameron said, I am part of the executive committee on the Alliance Council. Just wanted to run through a few different things that the Alliance Council has been working on this year, just kind of fill you in on what we've been up to. The first thing I wanted to highlight is the Zoom watch parties. We started this during 2020 as we looked to create a space for Alliance members and general Sounders fans to gather and have a game day-like experience. We continued that into 2021 for away games and had a really great time. We had fans from across the country, some international, some that weren't comfortable yet being in the stadium, and then plenty who attended all the home games. We'll continue to do that for the remainder of the year if and when we have another away game, and then we'll see what 2022 brings in terms of whether we keep that going. Nick, you want to speak to scarf design?
Thank you so much, Ben. My name is Nicholas Biela, and I am the Secretary for the Alliance Council. Every year we do our annual Alliance Scarf Design and Vote. This year's Rave Green designs were created by local artist and Alliance member Lindell Sarin. We did do things a little bit different this year, where instead of being a fan submission, we chose to go in a different direction where the club had curated some submissions from local artists who were also compensated for their time and for their work. We did keep from their final selections, we did let the Alliance as a whole vote on the scarf that they liked the most, which will be revealed at the start of the 2022 season. So we're quite excited about that. Going on to the 2021 secondary kit will be Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Another great example of being on the Alliance Council is working with the club to help develop new jerseys. It's arguably one of the things that our group looks forward to the most. The club involves us early on in the design process just to help give some creative direction and review designs. A great example of that is this year's iteration of the kit with the Jimi Hendrix kit idea actually came out of a design meeting that the club had with the Alliance Council. And I think that's a kit that we're all extremely proud to wear to game days. So, Nick, do you want to take Rave Foundation?
I can, yeah. And so as always, we love to continue to support the Rave Foundation in various ways. We have a strong collaboration with them, whether it's amplifying messages, attending recent events such as the opening of the new Holly Rave Community Field, and of course the annual garage sale event where all the proceeds go to the Rave Foundation, as well as something that I know a lot of the Alliance members love to support and help work at. I believe we're probably going to have an update on some Rave stuff later in this meeting, but I will kick it off to Ben for meeting and Sounders ownership and leadership.
Yeah, so the Alliance Council also meets occasionally with Sounders ownership and the front office. I would argue we're one of the best conduits of information from the Alliance to the club and vice versa. We're proud to have a great working relationship and to also hold the club accountable to the greater Alliance. One example of how that worked this year was the side-by-side doubleheader with the Sounders and Reign. The club did an incredible amount of work to pull that event off, and we got to help in our own small way as we consulted with what that event included so that it could be a really great experience for the entire Alliance.
And then, of course, we're all here today for the annual business meeting, which is something that we feel is very important for that democracy in sports and full transparency with the club and their supporters. So we collaborate with the front office. As you mentioned, Dwayne Nakamura did heavy lifting from the Alliance Council perspective to ensure that topics that are important to you, Alliance members, that they're covered, addressed, and that your voice is heard.
Great. So that takes care of it from the Alliance Council perspective. So I think we'll toss it on over to Steve and we can move on to the next section.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate that. Thanks for the updates. We know it's been an extremely challenging year, past couple of years, but as an Alliance Council, you guys done a great job, and we could not be more proud that you represent our club, and we get to count on your support and having you as our fans. Next, we're going to move on, and we're going to hear from the business side of the Sounders. And so I'd like to introduce and give the floor to Adrian, Peter, Maya, and Taylor.
Thanks, Steve. Good evening, everyone. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the club, the Alliance, and the Alliance Council. You really do make us better. We do listen. It is important, that conduit to our Alliance and understanding what we can do to be a better club. So we really do appreciate you, especially given these difficult couple of years. This really has been a difficult period. And hopefully the next time we do this, maybe it won't be a virtual meeting. Maybe we can be all together, and that would be a really nice change from being on Zoom. So I'm going to try to keep this short because we want to answer a lot of questions, but we're very excited about the short term and the long term for our club. We obviously head into playoff season here for the 13th year in a row. That is something that we are all super proud of. And we also get to look forward to Champions League in early 2022. So big things coming on the team side. We kind of look at our business in cycles, and we have this is a unbelievably exciting 5-year cycle that's coming our way, 5-6 years. We have a lower division league that's been announced by Major League Soccer, the LDL. That is a super compelling league that we are going to work hard to make sure is very successful and continues the evolution of our player pipeline, ultimately leading to hopefully stars that make it to the first team. Obviously, some of our young players are beginning to really pop, and Garth may talk a little bit more about that later on. We also announced a new format for Leagues Cup competition between MLS and Liga MX. That is also going to be a fantastic project to work on. That new format will launch in 2023, group stage as well as individual single knockout games, ultimately leading to a bunch of prize money for the players and Champions League spots. So a great tournament in partnership with CONCACAF. We have a new TV contract that's going to come in 2023 from a league standpoint. If you, many of you may have seen today that there was a big announcement that NBC Sports, Peacock just signed a 6-year deal with the English Premier League at a very big number, which is good for media rights coming into soccer, buying soccer content, because as revenues increase, obviously it allows us to keep investing in the product, making it a more compelling event for our fans in stadium and on television. We have a potential training facility. We've been talking about this for a while. We've been out scouring the region. We feel as though we're closer than ever to having figured out what that is going to look like in the future. And we are extremely hopeful that in the coming weeks, months, we'll be sharing some exciting information about a training facility. we have a 50th anniversary coming in 2024. Amazing that it's 50 years later. Again, many of you have heard me talk about being an 8-year-old kid, starting to go to Sounders games and Sounders camps. It's kind of scary that it's 50 years later, and I'll be 58 when that comes, but sure enough, it is here. And with Alliance Council support, we have a lot of exciting things that we will be planning and launching in conjunction with the 50th anniversary. And finally, on October 31st and November 1st, we hosted FIFA, CONCACAF, US Soccer, the Canadian Soccer Federation, and presented why Seattle should be a host for the 2026 World Cup. We believe it went well. This is an easy soccer culture climate to sell. We have a lot of amazing things that happen in this community: innovation, companies, big ideas. And we believe that those things will ultimately allow us to host the World Cup in 2026. And, you know, all of this wrapped in perhaps what I'm most proud of is our efforts in the community. You know, our continued work with the Ray Foundation, building fields, distributing balls, doing way more than that. Our effort to lead on vaccination education and providing vaccination clinics, ultimately 100% participation from our team, being true leaders in that regard, and in our continued work on social justice. You know, and there's a whole lot more and way more meat on the bones of that, but again, I wanted to be brief, but we're very excited about our club today and for the future. And we obviously couldn't do it without you. And specifically the feedback and the holding our feet to the fire and making us better year after year after year. So thank you to everyone for your support and for being here this evening. And with that, I am going to pass it off to President of Business Operations, Peter Tomazawa.
Thank you, Adrian. And I just really want to echo very sincerely, again, a thank you to the Alliance Council executive team that we work with, but also all the members. I had a conversation with Todd Lywicki, and he reminds me that the work that the Alliance Council members do, basically, you're the lifeblood of our club. I always kind of think like the team entertains us, the players play hard for us, the staff works hard for us, and the players fight for us. But at the end of the day, you, our fans, our community, sustain us. And, you know, it's just with humble, just with a great deal of humbleness that we get an opportunity to do what we do and do it for you. And it's as Adrian had mentioned, it's a listening exercise that we take a great deal of pride in, and we take it very, very seriously. I always like to start this kind of thing, like they asked me to do the kind of the business year in review, and I got to say that the year's not over yet. You know, we're not done by any stretch, and I think Garth and Brian will take you through like how we're planning to keep this thing going as far as we can. But I got to give my hats off and a tip off to Garth, Brian, the staff, and the players. I mean, if you said at the beginning of this year, 3 of your top 4 players will be injured and unavailable to us for most of the beginning of the year. Your goalkeeper would be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. And that at one game, you might start 5 players under the age of 19, that you would finish even in the playoff race, let alone finish second. I think it would have been almost an impossibility. that if you said to us at the beginning of the year, we would finish where we finished. So kudos to the entire organization for all of that, and also to all the fan support that we got. We couldn't have done it without you, for sure. Our team mission, the Sounders team mission, was I absolutely adore and love, and I always like to say this as many times as I can, and even it's on my email tagline, which is our mission is to create moments, enrich lives, and unify through soccer. We try to live those three things in everything that we try to do for everyone here. I'll start at the beginning of the season and kind of go through a little bit about what we tried to do. And I think Michaela is gonna share a screen with some images that will try to capture some of this. But we started the year thinking, honestly, our business plan was maybe we might get half a season with fans in the stands. And we were not sure when we could actually get fans back. And hence the picture you see at the beginning of the season where we had limited capacity crowds. And we slowly worked, but the key thing I want to point out in regard to that, everything that we thought about, everything that we did was keeping safety at the forefront of our minds in terms of when and how we could allow fans to come join us at the stadium. And we think we really did a good job at that. We worked lockstep with our King County Health, the governor's office, to try to ensure the maximum amount of safety for all of us to enjoy a Sounders match and be safe from COVID. You know, that work still is going on. And as we've seen in the recent reports, it's not over, but we're still trying to do everything possible with keeping fan safety in mind. I would also like to address the idea that, you know, we did decide to close the upper deck this year. We worked with our Alliance Council on that announcement, and they made it pretty clear it would be pretty unpopular. And we tried to do everything we could for the 300 level people that were relocated downstairs, and both in terms from a price point of view, but also more importantly, we promised that if we were ever to open the upper deck, they would get first crack at their seats that they had given up. And we've kept true to that promise, because we did have one match that we opened up the upper bowl, which was the Portland August 29th doubleheader match, which I'll speak to in just a moment. The other thing that was kind of really fun for us this year, as Ben alluded to, was the introduction of the Jimi Hendrix jersey. This was in what I called, and what we called, is really a true intersection of sport, music, and pop culture. And it was really kind of interesting to see what happened, how this all unfolded. But prior to the announcement of the jersey, prior to us unveiling that jersey, the picture of the jersey got leaked accidentally out to the public. And we got quite an interesting response to that. People were saying, what is this? What is this? And then when we announced the story and the collaboration with the Hendrix family and the authenticity that this jersey represented to the Seattle and its community, it became the fastest and best-selling jersey in Sounder history. In fact, and sadly, I guess in many ways, but in other ways, you know, we were just now heard that many of the orders that were placed in April are finally being fulfilled just a couple of weeks ago. In fact, we had 2,000 jerseys that we had ordered for the August 29th jersey match day that showed up in the nick of time, like the Wednesday before, just because of supply chain constraints. But nonetheless, it's one of our best-selling jerseys in the history of the Sounders. And it was really a fun activation that we had in and around it. You know, Taylor and Maya will probably speak to that some more, but that was one of our most successful ventures. 2023 represents the next opportunity that we can have. Next year, we'll have a new green jersey, but 2023 will be another jersey that will come out, and we're really excited to be working on that with all of you. The other thing that we did that was really, I think, novel and unique and really, really fun was we did a doubleheader with the OL Reign. Now, truth be told, we actually had planned a doubleheader in 2020, but of course COVID hit and that kind of squashed all the plans for that. But we had always in our head, in the back of our minds, that this could be a really phenomenal, really truly exceptional event that our fans would enjoy, we would enjoy, our players would enjoy being part of it. And it really would hit all the elements that we thought could possibly come of it. We really, and I think, well, I know Maya will talk more about our social impact and our social justice platforms, but we just love the whole idea of having a women's match and, with our men's match together on the same stage. And we are so thrilled that the Reign were able to hold a record. They hold the record for NWSL attendance because of that match. And kudos to them. They did a great job. Megan Rapinoe put on an amazing show. And I got to say, that was super highlight. And we learned a lot about how to do those things. The other thing that the event that I think we took very seriously, and Adrian alluded a little bit to this, and Taylor will talk about this, and Maya, I'm sure, as they speak to the future of the club. But the Leagues Cup competition this year, which pitted the 4 top teams in Mexico versus the 4 top teams in the US, in the MLS. And the fact that we took it seriously, the fact that we did incredibly well, arguably we should have probably won that final game, but it was a super close match, super entertaining, super proud of our team's effort in that. But it really showed kind of like what could be. And the fact is, we can play with those teams. They're top teams. And it was really a great moment, I think, for the club. Had the opportunity to get down to Vegas to see that game, and that could be a very interesting market for soccer in the future. I'm going to leave it with that, and I'm going to turn it over to Taylor Graham. He's our Senior Vice President of Business Operations and our Head of Marketing. And then after he speaks, Maya Mendoza Ekstrom will speak, who's our Senior Vice President, Legal Counsel. She's the heart and soul, I call, of our club in terms of their social impact and social justice and our community efforts, especially in and around the Ray Foundation. So I'm going to turn it over to Taylor at this moment.
Thanks, Peter. Before we look forward, I'm going to talk about the future a little bit and go a little bit deeper into some of the subjects that Adrian and yourself alluded to. Steve, I'm having some flashbacks to 2009 when we sat next to each other. I think at the first ever annual business meeting, we were in the front row and there was 2 microphones about 20 yards apart. And in no particular order, about 24 people came up and asked about sitting and standing, and then grass in the pitch. Some things never change. Our lateral mobility and our hairlines 100% have. I appreciate that. So I'm going to be as brief as possible to leave as much time for Maya, because if the World Cup comes to Seattle, it's going to be very much attributed to the work, and she'll give you a sneak peek into what happened a couple of weeks ago, what the pitch was, and then what are those legacy commitments. That was inspiring to hear myself, even knowing what was going to come. Adrian mentioned some of the things upstream from us, some of those macro issues that are happening across Major League Soccer, across the competitions within the Sounders Club, in global soccer landscape that are going to influence the next 5 years. There's a slow and steady hum that takes to execute a year over year from a business perspective. But each year is slightly different, with different moments, different opportunities, different initiatives, different club priorities. And I'm going to show my slides, my screen real quick. If I can get this. Actually, Michaela, I might challenge you real quick to pull that up for me, and I'll keep talking. Adrian said it, Peter said it, Cameron, Ben, Nicholas, Dwayne, Council, Alliance. You push us, you hold us accountable, you motivate us, you collaborate with us. It makes us better. It forces us to find new ways to win every single year. And we appreciate that because this club is what you say it is, not what we think it is. So 2022, we're going to take a quick snapshot into some of these big moments that exist above and beyond the steady hum. Thanks, Michaela. CCL is coming fast and furious. Steve, you remember this moment from that quarterfinal matchup? I think we just actually found out that our draw is going to come in the middle of December. So that CCL competition will start mid-February, and we're ready for it. The GM vote, like you said, and then don't forget about the World Cup in 2022. Knock on wood, US can continue to push forward and to qualify for that. It's been fun watching Canada at the same time. For those Where Waldo fans, you can see Tyler Miller smiling in that March to the match. When you fast forward to 2023, it's when we sunset this Jimi Hendrix jersey. And reminder, it's a community kit, because the intent is to connect with your community in deeper and more meaningful ways. And we chose the story of Jimi Hendrix and what he means to our community and the world as the story that we wanted to tell. Peter talked about the design itself. There were some mixed feelings. And then once the story came out and the storytelling, it really brought to life the opportunity, not about a jersey, not necessarily about the Sounders, but about how we can take a story, celebrate it, find values that we believe in, but also leave a legacy with donations to nonprofits. And this year with this kit, we use those donations to empower BIPOC youth. We know these are big shoes to fill. Like everything the Sounders do, we're working really hard to fill them, and we're excited for what's to come in 2023. Fast forward to 24, it's about our history and our heritage. The connection from 1974 up until our playoff run this year. I can assure you, we have heard loud and clear from council every meeting for the last several years how important 2024 is, and that they want to get ahead and have a direct involvement in terms of how we celebrate this major milestone. We also got some tough reminders this year about, go back one more quick one, Michaela, some tough reminders that, we shouldn't take our history and our heritage for granted. The passing of Jimmy Gabriel this year is a reminder of how deep and tenured this club is, but we have to find new ways to not only honor the past, but prepare for our future. And so I think what I will commit to you is that in 2022, you're going to start to see the club build the ramp into 2024. And everything we do will be centered around a handful of things. How can we embrace our heritage and go deeper into who we are? How can we connect deeper with our and new ways with our community, while at the same time laying this pathway, this groundwork for our future? And like this event and everything we do, our approach will be participatory with direct involvement from council, from Alliance, our fans, everyone for that matter. We will be open and transparent with our intentions, because at the end of the day, our club isn't what we say it is, it's what you believe it is, and you continue to influence that. And then you fast forward into 2026 in the World Cup. I'm going to very quickly pass it over to Maya. Like I said, if this thing comes, we believe it will, we hope it will because a lot of her efforts. Maya?
Thanks, Taylor. I appreciate that warm introduction. I would say to all of you that one of the things that has made this process inside the World Cup so compelling for Seattle is built on all of that history. The reality for soccer in Seattle, where we are, where we live, where we play every day, is that is an endemic part of our community. We get to say that. I get the really great fortune on behalf of all of you to represent all of your collective voices, to answer the question of why Seattle. And it is because the soccer community is so embedded in our overall community in the city. It's dripping with the values that you hold us accountable to as our fans. And it reflects the collective work that we do day over day as people who really do care about this community and can exercise that care through our shared and collective fandom for the club that we support. And so hopefully all of you have seen this by now. We have 3 core values around our bid, and it's soccer, innovation, and everyone. And as we looked into sort of this host event, I want to provide some behind the scenes from the hosting of the FIFA visit over Halloween weekend, and sort of leave you with some takeaways. And so, sorry, Michaela, go ahead. You can go forward one. The first thing is that we wanted to center the city of Seattle, and in 2 days, in 2 very short days, center the breadth and scope of this city. And that's everything from the being the incubator of big ideas for a generation, to ensuring that we reflected our Indigenous community and the lived experience over 1,000 years in the Pacific Northwest, that we had the capacity to talk about sustainability and sustainable event management, not only in our home at Lumen Field, but in Climate Pledge Arena, and that we made sure that we centered our small businesses and the diversity of our community. And so Adrian said this, but the objective was for us to put our best case forward, and for us to walk out of the 2 days that we spent with the delegation knowing that the bid and everything that we do reflects the values of Seattle, reflects the values of our soccer community, reflects all of you. And so we were able to pull a lot of folks together in a very short order. We started this group at MOHI. We couldn't think of a better place to start this group than centering in our history. We heard from Casey Sixkiller, a former deputy mayor. He talked a lot about the Indigenous roots, the connection to water, and how important and impactful it is for us to center our activities in the places that have had significance in our region for a millennia. We talked a lot about innovation, and everything from the cup of coffee that we drink around the world, to the airplanes we fly in, to the small businesses that really make our community vibrant. You know, when every single delegate landed in Seattle and made it to their hotel rooms, the care packages that greeted them were a reflection of our partnership with the Intentionalists, highly curated packages featuring local BIPOC minority-owned businesses that we love at Sounders FC, everybody from Marjorie's Plantain Chips and Lady Yum to Eighth Generation and the work of Louis Gong. And we took the FIFA delegation on a grand tour of the best of Seattle and the best of our professional sports community. They got to see a Seahawks game and a Kraken match in the same day. They got to see the Climate Pledge Arena in action. They got to see and touch and feel and live inside the Amazon spheres and look at some of the work that the collective might of the city of Seattle is doing at every level. As we look ahead, go ahead, Michaela, thank you so much. As we look ahead, we have to look back, and at the center of our bid is soccer. And as much as we want to celebrate our 50th anniversary as Sounders FC, we also need to reflect that soccer has been here for a very long time, over 100 years. And really and truly in that, women have been included in that from the very beginning, from the earliest stages of soccer. We were able to share on behalf of our friends at Washington Youth Soccer that next year we will celebrate the 50th anniversary of girls organized youth soccer activities in Washington State. We are one of the first state organizations to provide girls a separate pathway to play. And we know also that one of those soccer specific things that we have to offer is really all of you. And go ahead, Michaela, to the next slide. It's our fans. It's the fans that show up and show out, that hold us accountable, that are loud for Sounders FC, loud for OL Reign, loud for their U8 daughters and sons that might play on a Saturday, and will be loud in 2026 and fill our venue. We know that because next slide, Michaela, we've done it before. And we keep doing it. Our stadium was built for this. You may have heard Adrian in the press conference allude to this, but literally Lumen Field was built. The statute includes references to both Olympic and World Cup soccer. It was built for this. And in 2026, it will be natural grass. We will put natural grass down. It will be natural grass that meets all of FIFA's standards. And we will ensure that the venue is an iconic venue on the map in 2026. And we know that our objective here is to grow the game and to continue to make sure that Lumen Field and soccer and our soccer community is accessible to all. And you saw earlier, go ahead, Michaela, but we are really proud of this, and we shared this with FIFA, and we were very happy to have our friends from OL Reign with us in the room during our pitch presentation. We're really proud of this. We think we can probably notch this number up higher. I think this is now a floor, not a ceiling, as we think about ways we will continue to partner with the Reign, not only in our social impact, but also in sharing the game on the greatest stage. Next slide for us. And finally, my goodness, we have the absolute best landscape and backdrop to host a major event. When we talk about Seattle and Seattle in the summer months, there isn't a better place to be. We all know that. I might be a little bit of a homer, but even outside of the venue, this is a destination that folks from around the world will want to come to. We are actually equidistant from Asia and from Europe on direct flights. And we will be able to capitalize on a number of transportation investments that are taking place that will extend light rail from Federal Way to Linwood and out to Redmond, on expansions at SeaTac Airport to include more travel directly to Asia. Seattle is really poised to be a gem for FIFA, for all of the natural beauty that we have, all of the industry that we have, and most importantly, because we are a compact footprint for our city, and we have a downtown stadium, and all of these activities that we can plan for in hosting a FIFA World Cup can really be centered in the downtown core. And that leads me to sort of the piece of this that it gets me really excited as we think about getting this bid, and that includes 4 legacy commitments that we made to FIFA. The first is we're committed to focus on the ground floor. We know all of you, our fans, patronize the small businesses that surround Lumen Field. I know I have my favorite haunts in the ID, the places that I sneak away to grab something to eat before or after a match. That is something endemic to the culture of how our soccer fans consume events, how our small businesses love our soccer community, and we want to take that ethos into everything that we do in the bid. So we've purposefully placed our activities in walkable distance of each other. We purposely picked the waterfront to focus on our main FIFA Fan Fest because it is a walkable mile down to Lumen Field. And we know that the ground floor extends outside of the city of Seattle. It includes service providers, it includes sources across the state of Washington, in the agriculture sector, in the fisheries sector, in the services sector. And if we focus our activities on the ground floor, we're supporting the economic recovery and equitable economic recovery out of this pandemic. Next slide for me, Michaela. I'll go a little faster. We have a commitment to operate a zero waste event and to provide a carbon neutral fan experience. One of the other benefits of locating everything on the ground floor in a walkable distance is that a fan landing at SeaTac Airport should never have to get in a car to experience our event. They should be able to hop on light rail, get downtown, use micromobility and multimodal transit opportunities in downtown Seattle, hop on a foot ferry if they want to get across the water, or hop onto a King County Metro electric bus to go to the mountains. So everything that we do should provide that opportunity for that fan to be carbon neutral. And as most of you know, our stadium is already one of the best in terms of operating sustainable events. In those summer months, we'll turn back energy to the grid from this solar array, and we already can divert 98% of our waste. The third commitment is we want to share this moment. We know that the 8-year-old version of Adrian exists across this state. And so as much as we want to plan for the Fan Fest, the major FIFA Fan Fest at the waterfront, We also want to think about the way in which we can share FanFest opportunities across the state of Washington. And so that in Yakima and Kitsap and Spokane and Bellingham, we can ensure that that 8-year-old has the same opportunity to connect and to be a part of this event. And we also know that we can put these FanFests in other communities in Western Washington. And so what we can do is hopefully drive those same folks coming from out of town to utilize our transit system and the highly walkable neighborhoods to go explore other parts of the ground floor, both in our Puget Sound region and across the state. And finally, something you are all probably very familiar with, we are committed to play because we believe play is human and it's every child's right. And this is really the centered work of the Ray Foundation and its vision to build 26 small fields and mini pitches by 2026. I am really proud to say that at the close here of 2021, we are 10 fields in that preliminary vision. We also have the vision to make sure we distribute over 100,000 soccer balls and provide 100,000 program hours to kids in communities around these Ray fields. We are already above 55,000 soccer balls distributed since 2016. So we are going to blow past that goal. And we know that this is Ray Foundation's mission. It's part of what we're doing inside Sounders FC. But our hope is that through the World Cup is that 26 by 26 actually catalyzes us to a Washington state where every single school or every single kid, all 1.7 million of them, live within an accessible distance of a place to play and have a ball to play with. And it's with that I turn very quickly, because I am taking a lot of time and I apologize for that, to our social impact work inside Sounders FC. This year, we have published our social impact report for the very first time. If you go on to soundersfc.com right now, find the social impact page. At the top of that, you will see our first annual social impact report. We look at our 4 arenas for change. We look at a couple snapshots of some of the core intersectional work we did this year. This really is a living framework. The work we did last year to establish this framework was intended to be something for us to guide our behavior, to ensure that we're consistent, to hold ourselves accountable, to be clear about our beliefs, and to make sure that we have a foundation against which we can measure ourselves over time. We know that consistent action through this framework is the real gold standard, because some of the small choices we make and can make every day as an organization won't show big, giant dividends for many years to come. This year, we also knew that we needed to look specifically at the arena for change of fighting racism and to center race in the work that we're doing across all of our arenas for change. And so we formalized a social impact and cultural calendar for our organization, 12 months to reflect what's happening in our community so that we can align our activities internally and externally. We invested, as you heard through the Jimi Hendrix Kit and others, our time, our talent, and our treasure in BIPOC youth, centering youth in communities of color. We challenged all of you, and you can go to the next slide for me, Michaela, to spend like it matters with us. We amplify the voices of experts. One of the things we realized very early on in our process and our stakeholder process last year with our staff to develop our framework is that we would need to make sure we had good, sound partnerships with experts who do this work, who are living the values of acknowledging the history of racism in our community and challenging all of us to move towards an anti-racist posture and to a more equitable future. And so we established those relationships this year. Those relationships will become meaningful and important, and the foundations were laid in big and small ways this year. As I said, next slide from Michaela, we challenged all of you to spend like it matters with us. And through our efforts, both tabs we were able to open as Sounders FC and support your meals as our fans, but also the choices that we were able to make in how we sourced meals for our internal needs, including our players. We opened up and paid for approximately 1,000 meals this year across tabs and meals that we purchased. Those were consistent collaborations with the BIPOC minority-owned small business community across the year. And we have so many anecdotal stories of of changes that were made, where a Friday saw a 50% more foot traffic and three to 10 new customers that are now repeat customers for those small businesses. Again, small, consistent actions over time. And as we look in sort of the work, the core work, are sort of two big ideas from this year that we can take away. This framework allows us to respond to needs in intersectional ways. The Seahurst Elementary School project, which started as a rave mini pitch project, turned into an EarthGen rain garden project. It turned into a social emotional space through that mural project. It allowed for us to contribute to planting trees with Weyerhaeuser and the watershed that feeds into Puget Sound at Seahurst Beach, just a mile down the road from this school. It allowed us to provide free programming for these kids in the summer months, as we knew that coming out of the pandemic, we would need that youth activities were restarting. And it allowed us to partner with Washington Youth Soccer to deliver a Spanish language free USSF grassroots coaching license to kids in this community. All of those things in a community of color that is in the flight path underneath the near SeaTac Airport, that really has, it really is a representative example of the ways in which our social justice framework works intersectionally to respond to need. And lastly, you've heard it before, and I will just close by saying this because this is really the future. We value our partnership with the Puyallup tribe tremendously. And it is more than just the fish logo on the kit. It is really about a true partnership. And we have spent a lot of time this year getting to know our new partners and ensuring that they feel like our platform is available to them to share their story, to share the lived experience of the Indigenous community, and more importantly, to share their knowledge and their experience in stewardship of our natural resources, our salmon habitat, and to make sure that we collectively are looking forward to growing soccer and to growing respect for each other and respect for the land through soccer together in collaborative mini pitches. These are opportunities to partner for a more equitable future, and our social justice framework allows the club to take advantage of those opportunities and to build really, really systemic partnerships.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Taylor, Adrian, Peter. Really, really good stuff. Got me fired up for the future of this club. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, as we'll take a few questions for all of you. So some of these are pre-submitted, but also feel free to use the Q&A function and we'll get to as many as we can. The first one here, I'll direct to Peter. And the question is from Kathleen, is what are your thoughts on partnering with OL Reign to have at least one doubleheader per season going forward?
Kathleen, great question. Steve, I'm going to change my name to the way you say it because it sounds so much better than when you say it than when anybody else says it. Kathleen, great question. Obviously, it was a fantastic event. We loved it. OL Reign loved it. Our fans loved it. It is incredibly complicated to pull this off. It's incredibly difficult. Many, many things have to happen. Suffice it to say, we cannot rule it out, but we cannot commit to it at this point in time. But it won't be for the lack of effort to try to get it together. So we're working on it is really the answer. But again, many, many things have to happen. A lot of stars have to align, and it takes a lot of hard work to pull this off. But we recognize it was a massively successful event for our community and for our fans. So working on it.
Thank you, Peter. This one we're going to direct to Taylor Graham. It's from John and Jeffrey, and it's, will we have a more balanced schedule next year? And how about more family-friendly start times that do not include Sundays at 7 p.m.?
Steve, there's a running joke internally that every schedule problem is my responsibility. So I'm glad to take that one. Look, I think we could not agree with you more that Sunday nights are not ideal. I think the hope is that we figure out the ideal schedule for the fans, right? There are some times that we play on Sundays where we choose to play on Sunday nights. And I'll give some examples is this year with a condensed schedule in the second half of the season, there are more midweek games. And so it was important for us, when the Mariners are at home, that we play at Sunday night as opposed to Saturday afternoon. Those recovery days are important for the team always. And starting point will give the team, Brian and Freddie and Garth and the whole crew, the best chance to collect points. That's the starting point of all decisions. There are some Sundays we can't control, like national TV. And I did some quick math, and I think we had 5 Sunday nights this year that were 6 p.m. and beyond. Some are easier than others. The doubleheader against the Reign, a little bit easier to come to on a Sunday night. A 7 p.m. on a Sunday on October 3rd against Colorado, maybe a little bit more difficult with school. So we will always try to get the schedule in the best place, but we're trying to serve a bunch of different purposes. We tried Saturday nights this year at 6 p.m.s when we can control all variables to make sure it was a little bit more fan friendly. Please, any and all feedback is welcome. It's impossible to make everyone happy, but that doesn't mean we're not going to try.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm going to shoot this one back to Peter again. This is from Paul. It says, do you have plans to have a separate radio broadcast team next season instead of using a simulcast for both radio and TV? Keith and Casey do a fine job for TV, but there's too much discussion and not enough play-by-play to allow the radio audience to visualize what's going on during the game in between the occasional goal and other close scoring opportunity. I will just say there is a third member of that broadcast team. Go ahead, Peter.
I was about to say, Steve, you do an amazing job on that broadcast as well. We're incredibly proud of our broadcast booth. It's one of the best in the league. It is phenomenal. We understand the question, and like everything else that we do, we're going to assess everything at the end of this year, and we're going to decide what to do about it in the future subsequent years. The simulcast was just born out of the idea that we had to do that coming out of COVID. And I'll also say, we do this stellar group of people on radio for all of our nationally televised matches, and they do a phenomenal job on that. And so, but we do understand that radio is slightly different than television. And as we do everything, we will fully assess what we have done, how it went, and what we're going to do about going forward. So that's still part of the chapter I mentioned that still needs to be written into this end of this year.
Okay,
thanks for the question, though.
Yeah, this one I'm going to shoot, and it can be taken either Maya or Adrian. Up to you. From Alex, is there any serious discussion about building a true soccer-specific stadium for our team and fans sometime in the not so distant future?
I'll take that one. I think the answer is no right now. We have 11 years left on our lease. We have a great home at Lumen. Nothing's impossible, but if that question is I'm assuming 11 years is not in the near future. So that's a no to that.
Wonderful. Okay, Maya, I'll give you this one here. It's from Michael. It says, can the club, in conjunction with the Seahawks and Mariners, take a bigger role in trying to revive the downtown area around the stadium? Many venues have closed due to the pandemic, and pre-game locations with reasonably priced food and beverages are getting harder to come by.
It's a great question. So, I mean, one of the things we did right away at the beginning of COVID was the COVID Relief Fund, and that facilitated us being really on the ground in 2020 with a lot of these small businesses. A lot of that work has shifted to the city right now, and we're working closely with our friends at the Office of Economic Development as they look at ground floor businesses. It's why we've centered a lot of the work for the World Cup, because we want to center the thought process around the ways in which these big major events might help galvanize some resources to infuse back into those communities, because we do know that they've been most hurt. And we really implore all of you that are coming to the match next week, get your vaccination card, show your Sounders FC app, go to these businesses, go to the Intentionalist, shop small this year in Thanksgiving. There are a number of the local on the ground folks that are looking to provide meaningful ways for these businesses to come back in this holiday season and around our playoff match specifically.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to get through two more, and I'm going to throw these both to you, Peter. The first one's from Conrad, and it says, what is your relationship with the Kraken like, and in what ways you view them as partners, and in what ways as competitors?
I think I'd like to throw that over to my good colleague, Adrian, seeing how he owns both parts of both teams. How's that?
Thanks, Peter. We have a fantastic relationship with the Kraken. Todd Lewicki is one of my very good friends. Are they competitors? Yeah, I mean, in some ways, there certainly are limited entertainment dollars, entertainment, emotional mind share, media capacity. So yeah, I mean, every time there's a new sports franchise, there's some level of competition. But that said, we are super collaborative as organizations, not only with Kraken, with the Mariners, Seahawks, Storm, Reign, and I'll also say that the Kraken are going to make all of us better in this sports town. Because they've raised the bar on some of the spaces in the stadiums or in their stadium and their focus on climate and sustainability. So we choose to look at it as a positive, and we will continue to work with them to try to make every sports franchise in this city super successful. I'm gonna take liberty of doing a couple more rapid fire. I know we went long in our presentations, but I saw a couple in the chat. There was question. So first of all, Felipe Makeda, please email us. We want more detail on the unaffiliated soccer teams that are not part of Washington Youth Soccer. So please get us more information. We want as many people in the tent playing soccer and feeling like they're part of the soccer family in this state and region as possible. There was a question on the Reign USL Stadium. Look, that is a dynamic situation right now. Pre-COVID, we felt like we had a pretty clear pathway, but post-COVID, or as we're coming out of COVID, priorities have shifted. The world has changed a little bit. We now have this LDL league coming into existence. So we absolutely, quite frankly, collaboratively with the Reign, would love to see more stadium options in our region. So that is absolutely a continued collective objective. But I would just, being totally frank, the dynamic has changed a little bit. And so, we're going to continue to work on it. We will continue speaking with people in Tacoma. There's noise of a stadium being built in Spokane. There is Memorial Stadium, which will probably get funded and get rebuilt in some way. So anyway, I just wanted to get to that one as well.
Perfect. Before we move on, I will ask this one. I think it's an important one. The question essentially can go to any of you four. Is there still a goal of the club to sell out the stadium? And I think it was by 2026, was it? But is there a goal to plan to sell out the stadium? And if there is, how do you plan on executing that goal?
Okay, I'll take that one. Look at, COVID came and really had to make us reassess everything about what we do. And, obviously we made the decision to shut the upper deck, except for opportunistic games, as we did this year. And, I think the answer to that question, the quick answer to that question is we'll see. We'll see how this all unfolds for the 2022 seasons. Right now, we haven't made any announcements specifically as to what we're going to be doing, but clearly can see a scenario where the upper deck will be shut for the season, except for opportunistic opportunities such as we saw with the Portland match. We fully intend, when we make the MLS Cup, to open up the upper deck. And that's what we're planning to do. But, over time, we'll see how this goes. And, we're going to be listening. And, if we can get to that point where we got that kind of demand, where we can fill it up, we would open it up.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. That's it for that section. Thank you so much for the questions submitted. I know the lines of communication between the club and Alliance is always open. So of course, this convo can continue offline as well. Moving on, last but certainly not least, to me, another very important part of the club, especially when it comes to the players and the team and the products on the pitch. I would like to introduce now our soccer side of things. And needs no introduction really. We have Garth Lagerwey, Brian Schmetzer, and making his debut at this annual meeting, Freddie Juarez with us as well. Go ahead, guys.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks to the Alliance Council for having us here again tonight. It's an honor to be back. We still have been heavily impacted by COVID this year. Our academy had to shut down almost entirely last year, and it's just now getting back on its feet and starting to play some games. But our player development overall has continued apace. We had one of our best Defiance seasons in recent memory. We were in the playoff with them up until literally the last 30 minutes of the season. So congratulations to those guys, and a number of young players really stepped forward on that platform and did a great job. We continue to see talent pushing through. Some highlights overall in our development. We had more than 3,000 young player minutes for the first team. That was a new high watermark for us. So that was a significant accomplishment that we had. Obviously Josh Tensio and Danny Leyva and AB Sissoko as maybe the three most prominent, but had half a dozen kids that contributed this year on the first team, and that's really good. That's a really good indicator of our progress, and hopefully that'll continue going forward. We've had some really cool milestones with our development program, having in the past won a national championship, in the first team MLS team to win the A Cup, and this year we had the Austin game, starting 5 teenagers. And being able to win a game on the road is a really remarkable accomplishment and a credit to the efforts of not only the current staff, but the staff who's been with us for the last half a dozen years, because that's the time it takes to build up these foundations and establish them and really move this thing forward. So look, overall, this meeting always falls over time. So what I could say is another good regular season. 60 points, that's obviously a good season, but one of the things with having sustained success like that is that our season's determined in the playoffs. So it really starts Tuesday, and we're going to go forward and put our best forward, and we think highly of our chances, and we're going to go for it. Some highlights along the way. We continue to get our sustained success. We have the most points in the league since the Sounders started in 2009. It's a pretty remarkable consistency across a couple of general managers and a couple of head coaches. So we've had a lot of stability. And this year, that sustained success has led to an individual recognition. We have some finalists for some end of the year awards. We had 6 All-Stars. We've had 9 All-Stars now in the last couple of seasons. 3 MVP finalists, and a couple of best 11 nominees as well. So hopefully, as the team continues to perform at a high level, our players and staff will continue to be recognized at a high level. We also feel like we overcame a lot of adversity this year. We've had some injury issues and with COVID, it really kind of pushed all of of our turnover kind of into 1 year. When you hear the word staff turnover, it doesn't sound like a word, but we've been able to kind of adapt and adjust and keep on moving. But if you think that in this 1 year, we've replaced our sporting director, our head of performance, our assistant coaches, our youth team coach, we have a new defiance coach. And at the end of the year, I'm both proud and sad to announce that Robbie Remenany will be leaving us as our head of analytics as well. So we've hired great people in the head. Craig Weibel's done an awesome job, sporting director. Sean Muldoon is off and running as our performance head. Freddie Juarez, who you guys are going to get to meet later, just in a couple minutes, is our new assistant coach. Steve Cook is our new U17 coach, and Wade Weber is our new Defiance coach. So those guys have all come in and done a good job, and we've just kept rolling. But I'd be remiss if I didn't conclude by saying thank you. Thank you to Adam Owen. Thank you to Chris Henderson. Thank you to John Hutchinson. Thank you to Chris Little. All these guys that have left within the last year and built a foundation of our success. Thank you to Gonzalo Pineda. Thank you to Jimmy Torrey. Thank you to Robbie Remenany. And I think most of you know a lot of those names, and you've seen them go on to other prominent jobs. And just wanted to highlight Robbie for a second, in that he's a pioneer in his field. He literally created the first analytics department of an MLS team. And he's really been a huge driver of our success over the last couple of years, and he's going to be deeply missed. So again, we're proud, and we're really grateful to all these folks that have contributed to this success for the last couple of years. So Brian, I will turn it over to you next.
All right. Well, thank you, Garth, and nice job to you. You always do a good job. Everything's been running as smooth as it can be. I know you and I understand there's lots of bumps in the roads, but thanks for all of your hard work, for the things that you do behind the scenes to make the team successful. What I'd say just very briefly is, look, not coming in first in the West certainly was a disappointment. The last 6 games certainly has been some challenges there as of late. That's all due to our, winning mentality at the club. All Along the Watchtower is my favorite Jimi Hendrix song. I love Maya's enthusiasm. Maya, thank you for everything that you're doing, and everybody at the club to get, the World Cup here in 2026. But my job here tonight is very singular. And I love Steve Zakuani for many different reasons. He's a very good orator. He's a good announcer. I loved his introductions with all of the fancy titles that he gave to all of our senior leadership group at our club. So I'm going to try and imitate Steve Zakuani and introduce a really talented, nice young man, Freddie Juarez. So here it goes. Here's my attempt. So Freddie, put a big smile on your face. Freddie is the senior vice president of music in the coach's office. He loves, some of the songs that I like. He is the junior vice president of erasing all of the lineups we put up on the board, on the whiteboard. We put a lot of them up recently, so he's had to erase them all and start over again. And, he's the senior vice rear admiral of defense. I mean, Precky's working with the attacking group. And yes, we did lose Gonzo and Jimmy, but Freddie has stepped in very well to take care of some of the defending duties that Jimmy used to do. So I'm very pleased, very happy to have a very humble, talented assistant coach join our club, join our family, Freddie Juarez.
Brian, thank you for those kind words. Garth, thank you guys. First of all, thank you, Sounder family, for allowing me to be part of this group and this club. The Alliance group, this is actually a pretty cool little thing you guys are doing here. It's neat to see everything that's going on behind the scenes. A lot of times you just get caught up in the football and you totally forget of what else it takes to make a successful club and team go in the right direction. And to me, this is a cool thing to be part of. Just came in, I've been part of a situation in the past where there's been a lot of turnover, so I know what how hard it is and challenging it is, has it's been for Brian and Garth and everyone else that has to work on the day-to-day with the team success. And my job was coming in when I had the opportunity to come in. It was an easy choice for me. I believe in developing players, developing as a coach, as a person, and I'm by far not where I want to be. And when I had the opportunity and Brian Schmetzer's name came across and a possibility of working with him, it was like, that's the guy that you want to learn from. There's few American coaches, in my opinion, that you can learn from, and this is definitely one. And it's a fact. He's done it all. He's won at USL level, which I played against his teams. He's now winning at the MLS level. And for me, it was somewhere where I wanted to be so I can learn. So when the opportunity came, I knew I wasn't going to come and replace anyone, because there's been so many talented people here. That's a reason why this club has won so many times. But it was just trying to come here and help the club and help Brian trying to get through this tough times right now with losing some very important members as best as I could, and try to learn along the way, because everyone talks about winning mentality. You guys have it. It's here. I've never been a part of it. So I couldn't tell you how to win, and I'm trying to learn to win at this level. And so I'm trying to give the best I possibly can. But I'm very fortunate, very happy. I hope we can make you guys continue to be happy with the team and make a good run at this in the coming weeks in the playoffs.
Perfect. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you and welcome. Let me add my welcome to the club as well. And the three of you do not go away just yet. We're going to get some questions for you. Again, feel free to use the Q&A function, and we have some questions here. And this one, Garth O'Brien, feel free. From Andrea says, I know we're fighting to be a top MLS team, but do we have a chance to make it to the FIFA Club World Cup tournament in the next few years?
Garth, that's your CCL is one of your big projects since you've come to the club. I'll let you answer that.
Oh, look, I mean, the club's success in the CCL certainly predates me, but it's been a thing, and I love what Coach Schmetzer says. When anytime we enter a competition, we're there to win it. That's what you saw our attitude with the East Cup this year. We fielded our best team and we tried to win it, and that's what we're going to try to do for Champions League. So it's a difficult competition, and it's at a tough period in terms of being at the beginning of our season, but we're going to take a shot at it. And one of the good things for next year is one of the kind of ancillary benefits of the buildup we've had in terms of the player development stuff is from just a basic bodies perspective. I think we're going to have probably a higher number of signed players early in the season next year than maybe we have in years past. We have a number of good, talented kids coming through, and look, we have a number of free agents as well, and so we'll see after the season, who wants to stay and who's going to move on. But I'm optimistic we'll have a lot of guys available for the Champions League run, and we'll be excited to take a shot at it.
With that last point, I'll stick with you, Garth. This is from Jessica, and it says, where are we in terms of renewing contracts for key players? Any word on Rui Diaz signing a new contract? That's the question.
Yeah, Raul is on track through next season, and obviously he's done great. I was actually surprised not to see him amongst the MVP finalists. I thought he'd been clearly one of the best players on our team, and hopefully he at least gets some best 11 recognition yet. JP's had a great season. Yamar, Coach Schmetzer, as I said, we have a finalist for all the major awards. So again, it's to the team success that individual being recognized. And that's a great thing for us. And look, we'll go and play our season. And as I said, like, it depends, when you ask me about contracts, it's just a weird time to answer that, because the answers are very different if we first round or if we win the title. And it's, we set a high bar here, and we've had sustained success in the past, and hopefully we can put our best forward and go on another run this year. And then we'll deal with the contract this season.
Okay, great. I'm going to come to you now, Freddie. This is from Brendan. What's been the most challenging aspect so far for you in your time here in Seattle?
Yeah, just coming into a crowded calendar, right? I think it's challenging for anyone, but you come in and you come into a crowded calendar with MLS games, and then you're also Seattle because of success. You have national team players that are leaving as well. So the challenge of the day-to-day work with the players and the development of the team, I would say would be challenging for anyone, right? But also coming in, I wasn't used to losing that many players where where I came from. So that's a big challenge, and I think that would be the most challenging part.
This is from Mickey, and I think it'll be a Garth question most likely. And it's just want some elaboration on the plans for the Defiance. You know, are the Defiance leaving USL for this new LDL MLS league? What sort of the future plans for the Defiance?
Yeah, I think there's this hasn't been able to come out yet with all the LDL kind of information. There's a bunch of stuff in the pipeline come out after the season, but it's not going to be that different. You know, we anticipate that we're going to play as the Tacoma Defiance. We hope to have games at Cheney Stadium. You know, be that we are in other venues in addition to that. But we will play some games at Cheney Stadium. And look, that's the pillar of who we are and how we've developed. I mean, if you look at the players currently on the first team that came through Defiance, Nuhu Tolo, Delem, Josh Atencio, Danny Leyva, Reed Baker Whiting. You know, I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody here or there. You know, Andrew Thomas, who nobody's seen play for the first team yet, but is a prospect that we have that played a bunch of good games well for Defiance. I think Defiance was key to Steph Cleveland's development, and you know, Steph had a really great run for us when Fry got hurt, and I think that was really by the preparation that he got for Defiance. So a number of kids on that current team again that are going to be invited to preseason. And you may even see some signings to the first team for next year in the offseason. So a pillar of who we are and what we do, and we're going to continue emphasizing that team, even though they're playing in a league that has a couple of different letters on the front than LDL instead of ESL, but I think it's going to be mostly similar.
Great. I'm going to throw this one to you, Schmetz, and I'm going to tweak the question a bit. It's from Michael, essentially asking, would the 5 substitution rule continue to stay in effect? But we'll ask it in the sense of, how has this changed your coaching, having 5 subs? Does it change much from we're all used to 3 subs, now you get 5? How have you changed your approach and your timing when you can make subs?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, Steve. I mean, I like the rule. I think it's a good rule. I think with fixture congestion, I mean, the World Cup's coming next year. The season is going to be shorter. We're always in big competitions throughout the year, giving players a proper amount of rest so they can perform at the highest levels. I'm all for the rule, and it does change some of your thinking. I mean, you can take half your team out at halftime if you so choose. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I am by nature perhaps a more conservative coach. I mean, I'm pretty set in how I, see the game and how I make substitutions. But it certainly is an intriguing rule that as we get used to having 5 subs, we will adapt and, make more changes as they come available, because I think that's the right thing to do.
Perfect. And we'll end here with one more for you, Brian. This is from Darian, and it says, what are the team goals for 2022? And what does the plan look like to achieve those goals? And there's a few more things in here. What are you most proud of in your team and individual wise?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, look, our mantra here at the Sounders is winning. It's winning trophies, winning championships. That's number one. What are the plans for 2022? I would echo what Peter said earlier in the call. We're not done with 2021 yet. So I haven't really put my arms around, kind of reflecting on the season and what we could have done better and how we could have done things differently and all of that. Let's just go through the playoffs. Let's enjoy the moment. I mean, 13 years in a row, 13 games undefeated, lots of young kids coming up through the pipeline. Garth neglected to mention some of the other young players, not just on the senior roster. We having a change in the coaching staff is always good for me. It gives me fresh ideas. Freddie's come in with some really good ideas about how we can change and do better. So I think let's just get through 2021, and then we will address 2022 in sounder fashion. We want to win trophies. We want to win games. Every game is important. CCL, all of that sort of stuff. That's just what we do.
And that's a perfect place to wrap up that portion of the conversation. I think it makes us all excited for the next 5 years of Sounders FC. But for now, guys, that concludes our programming for this evening. But we would love to know what you all thought of the meeting. So a quick poll will be popping up shortly. Please answer those. And if you have any other feedback or questions, feel free to email customer service@soundersfc.com. We can keep the conversation going. Join Alliance Council to continue to stay in touch with Sounders FC leadership throughout the year, and you can have your say in democracy in sports, which is such a unique concept, and it's really brilliant the way this works together. I want to thank the Alliance Council for hosting this annual business meeting, for the panelists for providing a chance for our fans to hear about all facets of the organization, and all of you for tuning in and joining us. I believe all questions were answered. The ones that won't, of course, reach out to the club directly, and a Sounders FC rep will be in touch with you. And most importantly, we hope to see you all at our first home playoff match since 2019. Join us Tuesday night, November 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Sounders against Real Salt Lake. I'm excited. I think we're all excited about that game. And so listen, to conclude the evening, we have a nice little video to get you all hyped. If you're not already, this is going to get you hyped for Tuesday night playoffs. Have a great evening, everyone.
And he sent the keeper the wrong way, and he has opened the scoring. They get the victory, and they are going to the playoffs for the 13th consecutive season.
You must believe that we can win games. You must believe that you can score. You must believe that you can tackle guys, smash them in the face. You gotta believe that.